Geordie LaForge can't use transporters for all the ionization in the Tagran atmosphere. 2Q created a child in vulgar human fashion. And Amanda Rogers only has one outfit. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation Season 6, Episode 6, entitled True Q, written by Renee Echevarria, based on materials by Matthew Corey. More on that in a moment. Directed by Robert Shearer. This was October 24th, 1992. Where were you? And Sirach, how you doing today?
I'm great. 1992. I didn't see that based on material stuff, so we got to get into that.
Yeah. What's up with that? Am I right?
Yeah.
Like what? I've never seen based upon materials by somebody. Everybody, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for notifications. If you're listening in, give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. We'd really appreciate that. But especially go visit us on patreon.com/the7th-rule. Become a part of the team, a part of the family, a part of the community. We really appreciate it, and you can support the show. All right. Sirach, I've seen this episode before. Long time ago. Barely remembered it, actually. But you've never seen this before. I couldn't help but think, is Sirach weirded out by this episode? Like, what's going on with the Q here? Is this episode weird, or was it fun? What'd you think of it?
Okay, so I don't know if I've vocalized this, but I kind of have the Sisko feeling about Q. The way Captain Sisko or Commander Sisko felt about Q is the same way I feel about Q. I don't like him. I'm just not a fan of Q. There's just this. There's just arrogance, this superiority complex, all of the things that, Black people have been fighting and struggling against for hundreds of years.
I thought you were going to say all the things I don't like about you, Ryan. I was like, oh boy, here it comes.
No, not you. I'm talking about Black people for hundreds of years been fighting against the same kind of arrogance and superiority complex. And, it's part of what drives civilization and what has driven wars and conquerors, and, all of this stuff. And
Right.
So I look at it as the root of, it's a flawed character. It's a character flaw when you have that level of bravado, that much self-confidence, that much feeling of superiority, regardless if you are superior. It's the way you carry it, I guess, with that level of brash, that attitude. It takes away from the greatness that you could be.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I automatically kind of start with Q from that point of view, because it rubs me the wrong way, the sense of entitlement that he has. And I wish that he had more of an understanding, because you would think an omnipotent, omnipresent kind of being would have more understanding of nuances of species, of civilizations, of history. But he seems really rudimentary in his evaluation of humankind and other species in the universe. And so I feel like that automatically puts him in a position where I dislike him. So I feel the same way that Sisko felt when he first had to deal with him. And here's my other, piggybacking off of that now. The real issue I have with Q episodes in general is that they are labeled such. And I wish that Q episodes would not label themselves as Q episodes, because then the mystery for me would be a lot better.
100%.
Yeah, they literally give away the surprise in the title. It's like saying, hey, I got you a cool, crazy, secret bike for your birthday. Guess what it is?
It's like
Like,
it's like writing a movie called The Butler Did It, right?
right. Yes.
Totally.
You're giving it away. You're
Hmm.
wrapping the gift in the paper that actually tells you what the gift is.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like, give me some mystery. Let me sit down and watch the opening of this episode, the opening sequence, and say, "Oh, who is this girl? What's going on? I don't know. I don't know who's, you know." And then Q pops up and like, "Oh, great, it's a Q thing. All right, I get it."
Um,
And then I can start to like piece it together. But they're literally giving you the answer to the crossword puzzle before the question, and I just don't like it.
right.
And every episode is Cupid,
Yep.
Q-less,
Q who? True
Q
Q.
who, true Q. It's it's too much.
You know, bingo. I thought the same thing. Um, and what it is, and I love the writers of TNG. I love the writers of Star Trek, but I feel like it's the writers being a little too cute or too cute.
Mhm.
Um, because they're like, hey, we should do a play on words every time with Q. Like, there's also an episode coming up called Q, and
Yeah.
and there's one called Thang Q. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of, the first one's kind of rude, the second one's nice, but I've felt this way about a movie. One of my favorite movies ever, I think it was maybe late 90s or something, or early 2000s. The writer was so interested in having the perfect tongue-in-cheek title that is a brilliant title, but it gives away the movie. And that movie is called The Devil's Advocate. I don't know if you've seen that movie with Keanu Reeves. Um, Brilliant movie. And I get that it's a play on words, the devil's advocate, because we have that saying, to play the devil's advocate and all that. But that really cute, cool, interesting name sacrificed the biggest twist in the movie when we find out way later on, spoiler, what is actually going on. And it's like this big, beautiful, mind-blowing, amazing moment. But we already kind of knew it going into the movie because of the freaking title. And this is exactly what you're saying with Q, and I completely agree. I thought the same thing. Why are you even creating a mystery if the title is going to give away the mystery?
Yes.
Maybe they don't think the mystery is that important. Maybe they go, it doesn't matter. People love Q. They want to know a Q episode's coming. Maybe they know better than I do, but this was my strong opinion, and it feels like this is your strong opinion too.
Yeah, because it's like you give it away, and like I already know this is a Q episode before I watch it, and so like then I know. So once I know it's a Q episode, right? Then I already know that it's all going to wrap up in a
Yeah.
bow because Q has the ability to wrap everything back in a bow, put everything back to its original starting point. Time doesn't matter. Whoever dies doesn't matter. And so then now I don't even feel the weight of any imminent danger
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, oh well, Q's going to fix that. It doesn't matter.
Snap his
Yeah,
fingers.
yeah. But if this episode begins and, for example, that crate falls on Riker,
Yeah.
and he's in critical condition, we might lose him. And I'm like, dude, this is crazy. What are they going to kill Riker in season 6? Like now, there's like some things where I don't know what's about to happen. Or there's something there where I'm not sure. But if now knowing this is a Q episode, that thing falls on Riker, I'm going to be like, that's
Whatever. Yeah.
totally
He's gonna
whatever.
say, "Oh, fine, you puny mortals," and snap, and then Riker's
Yes,
back up, going like, "Oh, I got a splitting headache," da da
yes,
da 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 da. Written by whatever.
right. And so they just they make it they take away the mystery. There's too much of a playfulness with him, um, with how the character is played. It's not played in a way that is, I feel, a serious threat. I almost feel like it's playful. So like, let's dress up like pirates, and oh, let's dress up like Robin Hood, and oh, I'll take you to an Inquisition court and grill you, put humanity on trial.
Yum.
It just becomes all of this like it, it's a writing tool to definitely be able to zap yourself anywhere you want. I get it. It's good for writing because, hey, this is a character that could just transport me to anywhere I want to be at any time, and
Hmm.
so it's very fun for that. But the level of playfulness, the level of seriousness, I don't feel threat. I don't feel like there's something that could happen. Let's say if Q actually, in his first appearance, disappeared Tasha Yar for like 3 episodes, and you just didn't see her.
That'd be fun. Like a few episodes.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, and then he comes back 4 episodes later, and he's just like, you know what? I'm done with her. She's, you can have her back. And then we know that it won't end in one episode and wrap up in a tiny little bow. Then we know that his threats may hold some weight. He could actually disappear somebody for a significant period of time.
Hmm.
And we don't know what's going to happen.
And then also, it sets up something that would be really fun, which is, what about twice a season when the crew of the Enterprise is facing some unsolvable mystery? Like, how did this happen? What's going on? Picard would be like, Q, is that you, Q? Right? And we start thinking, oh yeah, is it Q? But now we'll know it's not Q because there's no Q in the title. But how funny would it be if a dozen times through the series, Picard yells out Q, Q, and so it becomes almost like a running gag. Like at least once or
Yes.
twice a season, Picard starts thinking something is Q, and then Geordi's like, it's not Q. We just have too many graviton beams, then we got to reverse the
He says,
polarity.
Q,
Uh,
reveal yourself now. You're
reveal,
like,
yeah,
he's
reveal
not
yourself.
here.
It's
Yeah.
just the nanites are getting a little overheated. Relax, bro. Yeah,
Exactly.
that'd be good.
So that's what I mean about the stakes and
Hmm.
and
Agreed.
them and not knowing whether it's real, it's fake, it's what I mean. It's like then you get to play him more like a poker hand. Like, it's like, is he bluffing? Is he all in? Is he really have aces? Now we know, but he's always bluffing. Q is always bluffing, essentially.
Basically, yeah.
He, that's what it is. It's like playing poker with a guy who's going to always say, hey, I'm all in, but he's not holding the cards. And I feel like that's how Q is. And it should be a level of, well, he does hold some cards and he does have a certain heartlessness to him that he doesn't care to some degree, or he won't, wrap everything up into a nice little bow at the end. I do like his back and forth with Picard because they have a good back and forth together
Always, yeah.
where that I like. So I'm not going to, discredit their interactions. I think it works well. The way Picard is irritated by him, the way Q is trying to. I think Q actually likes Picard, and
Yeah.
he wants to win over his affection or his admiration in some way, and so he's trying to always win Picard's approval. And I get, and that I like the dynamic of that. I like. For example, when the scene came up and Picard says, we're going to go talk to Amanda, but we can't go in there like this. We have to pretend like we're, and then, we have to appear to be, and then Q grabs him and says, pals?
That
And he's like,
was
civil,
funny.
civil,
That
civil.
was that was such a good line when he said civil. He's like,
Yes.
no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no.
We're not pals.
Civil. Yeah. And it
Yes.
is
And
true.
so,
It's
yeah, it
like
works.
Q loves Picard. I think they've even said on the show where he loves Picard the way a cat likes playing with a mouse. Like at any point, the cat can eat the mouse and move on and not even think about it ever again. And the mouse is like, you want to play with me, but I know at any point you could literally just kill me. You don't value my life. You don't respect me. You don't care. I'm just a living toy to you. That's how Q looks at Picard. And of course, Picard doesn't want to live that life. He doesn't want to just be this guy's toy that he can turn into a king or kill or do whatever he wants to him. But Picard and the others are in this position to where it's like, what can you do about it? So you do have to kind of be civil to him because he can kill you. So you do have to kind of, I don't want to say play along, but you can't just sit here and just cuss him out and punch him and kick him and all, well, unless you're Cisco, and do whatever you want, because at any point you'd be like, oh, you guys have grown tiresome, and just kill him. And there was a very interesting thing that John Delancey as Q said in this episode. He said something to the effect of, the jury is still out, by the way, when Picard was like, you put all of humanity on trial and morality, you're such a dummy. And he's like, hey, easy. The jury's still out. You're not off that trial right now. So it's a reminder that humanity is still on trial. It wasn't just a one episode thing. He's checking in, and at any point he could say, nope, humanity sucks, you're all dead. Or he could say, all right, fine, good enough.
Yeah. Actually, I had to rewind this episode just for the scene where where Q first pops into the conference room there, where they're all meeting, having a discussion about the warp core breach, right? And he kind of pops in with his feet up, and he's like, "Hey!" And so, if you listen to what Q says in those opening lines, he actually says what he ends up doing, and that is, Dr. Crusher says, you can't just come in here and take her back with you back to the Q continuum. And he says, I assure you, I can.
I loved that line. So good because of the delivery. He's like, hi, I assure you. Like, honey, I could do whatever the I want. Whether you or Picard or any of you mortals are fighting me, I assure you, I'll do whatever I want.
Yeah, but if you look back on the episode, he does.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm just going to take her back to continue. And she's like, you can't just come in here and do that. And he's like, I assure you I can. And he does. So he's right on that count. And then the other thing is she says, she wants to be a scientist, and she wants to get married and do this. And Q's response was, I'm rescuing her from that miserable existence. And he did.
And he means it. Yeah.
She actually chooses that existence is not worthy for her at this point, once she realized her own abilities, right? So it becomes miserable to her, to even her. She doesn't want to try to figure out how to make Riker love her in this, back and forth game of chivalry and stuff. She wants things to be snapped into wishing into existence the way she has the power to. And so it is kind of a miserable, when you look at it from the lens of a Q, who has the ability to do all this. It looks kind of limited and miserable. Like, I have to sit here and watch a planet full of people die while I can just do something about it. It's kind of like, you guys are so weak. It's like, it's kind of miserable it's almost like having a disability. It's like being a disabled, right? It's having a disability. You're not able to fully do everything you want to do.
Especially,
so he's true in his first statements to the people,
right,
when he meets the crew.
Especially from his point of view. I mean, our point of view is, we are mortals. We are limited. So we're used to it. So it's a question whether we would give this up to become a Q. But from his point of view, he's like, why would I go from this to basically being a slug or whatever? He looks at us like, I mean, if somebody faced me with that decision, I'd be like, I'll take Q every day. Are you kidding me? Eating chocolate cake every day? Warriors win every game. I know that takes away the drama, but that's okay. I'll survive. Cats are everywhere. They're so cute.
Little puppies.
Everything. All of the things. And then when I need to sleep, they all disappear, except for a couple at the foot of the bed purring. I mean, it's like, and every day is a beautiful day. Oh, come on. I'll take it every day. We could go
Yeah.
travel the universe and look at all these aliens and not worry about if they're going to eat us or if I can breathe their atmosphere. We can go, and tell the archaeologists, actually, bro, the Licholotopus, it's actually, it was actually a thing that came. No, it was not furry. It was actually feathered. I saw it. I know what it was like, Anyway, it'd be really
Yeah.
fun. You could see everything.
I mean, so you would, I mean, from his perspective, it is a limited life. It is not the same life of the Q. So I thought that it was interesting that when he came in, it sounded brash, it sounded crazy. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take her with me. I'm going to, rescue her from this very miserable existence, and all of those things actually ended up becoming true, which was
Right.
funny to me. Um, but there's there's some things in this episode that had me rolling my eyes. A few things, but I thought that, for example, when Q first sees Amanda, he seems real predatory the way he walks up on her. I was turned off by it.
Yeah, he does. There was definitely a creep
I think
factor in there.
he grabbed her by the arm. It looked like he grabbed her by the arm and was like, "Let
Yeah.
me have a look at you." And he was looking at her, like examining her. It was.
And I wonder if it was directing or an actor's choice. But I had to remind myself that this is also how he talks to Picard. Like when he came up right on her face, I was like, is he going to kiss her? Is he going to like lick her? What's going on here? But then I had to remind myself, he did the same thing with Picard. There's like, he comes up right on Picard's face and pokes his face in and says some things, or he wakes up in bed next to him. Like Q is the ultimate in not knowing personal space. He loves to invade personal space. He loves to go too far and make people feel uncomfortable because he knows they can't do anything about it. It's like a power trip. It's a control freak thing. And it's gross, and people hate that in real life. And it's got to be infuriating, even more so when it's an omnipotent being that you can't even like push away or do anything about it. He's just like, yeah, that's right. I got my hot breath on your ear right now. There's nothing you could do about it. Ugh, what a creep.
Yeah, he looked like such a predator to me. The way he like walked up on her, grabbed her by the arm, literally grabbed her by her arm was up, like like how a police officer grabs you when he snatches you up. I was like, what the hell is he doing? And then he's gazing into her eye, like inspecting her.
Way too close, yeah.
It just was like, that would have been worthy of a phone call to HR right there.
To QHR.
Yeah,
that's funny.
QHR, exactly.
Yeah. Hey, so we got to jump to our break in just a second here, but there's a lot more to talk about on the other side. Like, for example, this guy Matthew Corey, based on materials by, and a bunch of other things. There are a lot of things to discuss in this episode, surprisingly, because it wasn't like an episode with a lot going on, but there's a lot to discuss about it. So we will be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Sir Rock Lofton.
Hello.
He was eating strawberries earlier. They looked really good, really juicy. Okay.
Delicious.
So let's see. Trivioids of the week. Here they come. Fast and Furious. Amanda Rogers was selected for an internship on the Enterprise. Amanda Rogers wants to bring her zoo to the Enterprise. Geordi can't use the transporters for all the ionization in the Tagran atmosphere. 2Q created a child in vulgar human fashion. I mean, vulgar's, it's fine. Crusher gets more shrill with each passing year. Amanda Rogers has only one outfit. You can't make someone love you, or can you? Amanda Rogers makes Riker make out with her neck. And Earth has a weather modification net. That's interesting. At least in the future it does. So let's look at this guy, right? We've never heard of Based Upon Materials by Matthew Corey. My first thought was, what materials? Did he help write the Bible? Did he write a novel? Did he write a comic book that they just said, oh, I really like this. We're going to take this story idea. Maybe it was like a pitch, or maybe he didn't even pitch it. Maybe it was just a sanctioned Star Trek novel or Star Trek comic book or something that they said, great, we like this, we're going to pluck it, but let's give the guy
Yeah.
credit for coming up with the idea. So I did a search on him. Nothing. I went to even Memory Alpha, and it says he is a writer who wrote the original material for Star Trek Next Generation Season 6 episode True Q. That's it. I mean, it also says he was born in West Germany and one of the youngest writers in Trek history. I mean, when this episode came out, he was, what, 28?
Okay.
So pretty young there. Actually 27. But
Nothing
I
else.
don't know what those materials are. No, it doesn't.
No writing credits of any other things.
I think that's a question for Jason Oken and Allison Leach Hyde. No,
Leach
I checked his writing credits. That was the only one, and he had 2 acting credits. That was it.
All right.
So I ask you, Sirach, have you ever heard of such a thing? Because I don't know what based on materials means specifically.
Based on materials. That's crazy. Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And what also is crazy to me is that Q already existed, so it couldn't have been anything that he created as far as Q. I guess the only concept he may have come up with is that Q, this other person is a Q. Or maybe that this person was half human. Cumin. But yeah, I don't know.
Isn't cumin a seasoning? Yeah, it's not how I thought it was pronounced when I first saw it when I was a kid, but it's cumin. Also, there was a Tracy Coco sighting in there, and we got the return of Ensign Gates. Remember when the lady who is at the front on the helm next to Data, and then they replaced her with another girl like Ensign Rager, and she got all these lines, and then now Ensign Gates is back. I'm like, that is so messed up, dude. Like,
with no lines.
Yeah, she's right back to no lines. They gave a whole bunch of lines to this one lady, and then they went right back to her, thinking we wouldn't notice that you did Ensign Gates wrong, but we did notice. So Orrin Lote had good makeup on him.
I thought it was good makeup too.
But they barely used him.
I know. I wondered if they cut his scenes or not. I wasn't even sure about that plot line. They didn't really.
I didn't know what the heck was going on.
I didn't know what the hell was going.
When he started coughing, I was like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna get a little more plot developed." Nope, no, that was it. I guess it wasn't really anything.
I didn't know what the hell was going on. The planet was dying or something, and Dr. Crusher's samples were what was going to save it. Is that what we were seeing?
Yeah, we're used to Riker's samples, but this time it was Crusher's samples that were going to save it, or they're going to figure something out based on that. But then, of course, Amanda Rogers saved the day by doing this thing. Actually, she didn't. She didn't do anything. The camera had a really cool move around her. She didn't do any hand gestures or snapping or blinking, and it was actually really cool that like it kind of swooped around her and then zoomed in on her. And I thought she was a great actress. Obviously, she's had an amazing career since then. That is Olivia d'Abo, or probably just pronounced Dabo, but we've seen her a bunch of times in a ton of things. I knew her. She was great. I knew her best and very fondly as the older sister in The Wonder Years. If you ever watched The Wonder Years with Kevin Arnold and what's his name, Fred Savage, she played the older sister. She didn't get a lot of screen time. Usually the older brother got more screen time.
Barely any screen time.
It was mostly the older brother going, "Hey, butthead, you're a butthead." You know, that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was the older sister.
Winnie Cooper. Was it Winnie?
Yeah, Winnie got all the love, and Paul got all the love, the best friend. But yeah, she was definitely seen the least out of that cast, I think.
Well, she did a fantastic job in this episode. I was glad when she kind of stood up to Q and backed him up with that, blast.
Yeah.
But, You have to say though that John Delancey, he does have a lot. It seems like he has the most fun than anybody,
Yeah.
just playing this part. So I imagine he enjoys it a lot. But when he did that whole in vulgar human fashion, they decided to conceive a child, and he looks over at Dr. Crusher and gives her one of those winks.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, oh God, this guy's so creepy, right? And she does one of these, like, oh God,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see Riker in the background looking like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? Kind of looking over at Picard. And then he does another line when he's like, Picard, you and I need to talk alone. And he zaps them into Picard's suite, and he says, "Oh, Crusher gets more shrill with each
Yeah.
passing year." I was like, "This guy is such." He actually made me laugh with that one because even though I don't think she gets more shrill, I do think that was a funny,
But
delivery.
yeah, we know that that is such a cute thing to say. Like he thinks everybody is like gross. Like he just, oh God, everything is so gross. They should have made him French because that is such a French attitude. Everything's just like so. He should smoke a cigarette and be like, ugh. Humans are so disgusting. No, merci, monsieur. But yeah, this was another case for me where I thought, isn't this a Deanna Troy episode? Like I thought Beverly Crusher was great,
She was.
and I understand why they made that decision to make it about Beverly and her. But I mean, initially they chose Beverly to show her around, to acclimate her, to kind of mentor her. And I'm like, isn't that literally Deanna Troy? Like Deanna Troy only has one job and they keep giving it to someone else. It's like if there's a gardener on the ship and they keep making Riker and Geordi cut the trees down. It's like, what do you just there's a freaking gardener right here. This is his one job. Let him cut it.
I thought the same thing. And I thought, I mean, wouldn't the doctor be there for physiological things? Something wrong with her makeup. She has an injury, whatever. But anything psychological or emotional should automatically fall in Troy's wheelhouse.
Right. And or I get that she had to do the samples. Fine. So she could also be mentored by Beverly. But half of those scenes, the first half of that, when it was just like, hey, how you doing? I'll take you under my wing. I'll show you around. That is literally Troy's job. Why couldn't it have been a Troy and Beverly? What, 2 women leading an episode is too much for you guys? Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Let them run the show for an episode. I thought, I couldn't help but think, I wonder if Marina Sirtis was sick that week and they just gave all of her lines to Gates. It could happen. It's possible. But I hope that was the case personally, because this poor Troy.
If that's the case, she's been sick for 6 seasons now because they have not given her anything that fits in her
wheelhouse. Or maybe just everybody hated her on set. They're like, Tuesday is the one day she comes in for the week, man. But I don't know what the problem was. And again, that's nothing to take away from the writers. It's nothing to take away from Gates, who I thought performed very well.
Well, she was great.
It was just another situation, just like every week, where we think, this is a job for Troy. Oh, wait, no, someone else.
Yeah. And speaking of a job, I mean, Riker, they found a way to get Riker again.
Yeah.
Even when he's like, I'm not even focused on that. They're like, no.
Even when he said, another time, ladies, I got my own. And it wasn't like he said, I'm too busy with work. I wish I could. It's like he was just saying the only reason he said no was because he was going to another lady.
Yes. And the way he straddled over that chair, he did the walk over the back of the chair move where he sat into it.
That's the Riker maneuver right there, man.
Oh, man.
That's his opening pickup line right there.
Yeah, it worked. I saw it. And then, of all people, he says to Amanda, he says, you can't just snatch people and put them in your fantasies and expect them to respond. You do that all the time.
Isn't that his whole MO right there? That's what he does like 70% of the time on the show. And the rest of the time he goes, red alert.
I was like, the pot calling the kettle. What the heck? Oh, so yeah, I was just like,
Or maybe it was just like Riker was like, whoa, 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 you can't treat people like a piece of meat. Excuse me. It's like, well, maybe you can get a little perspective. Suddenly the shoe is in the other mouth all of a sudden, and and you don't like it.
Oh yeah, and it's funny because she was like, "You don't like this place," and I saw him kind of looking around, like, actually, he didn't even need her convincing. He already forgot about the girl at 10-4.
Oh
He was
yeah.
like, he was like, "Yeah, this is not bad actually. Nobody's around. It's just me and you."
It was a nice setting too. He was wearing a ridiculous hat though. He'd be like, all right, if I can lose the hat, you got a deal.
Yeah, she's got, when I put people in a fantasy scenario, they're not wearing a three-piece suit with underalls,
Yeah, that was not a thing.
You gotta figure out how to fantasize better. But I did like the scene though when I liked the moment when they played hide and go seek.
Yeah.
Their version of it. I thought that was interesting because seeing him pop out of the warp core like in that shot behind you, I thought that was fun, and watching them stand on the hull of the ship was actually something I enjoyed a lot. And I could have actually used more scenes in that space because it's actually a good place to like have a private conversation.
Right. And there were a couple things too that I noted. When she was going to go eat, and Q says, "You don't have to eat. That's a nasty human habit. You can easily live without." My first immediate thought was, "Whoa, so's pooping." Like that's pretty cool. Imagine if you don't have to poop or pee or
Yeah.
sneeze or eat. I mean, I would think I would still eat anyway. Um, Although that's
Yeah.
really confusing. Like, it's not like she ever chose as a Q to uh, duplicate human poop or excrements of any kind. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like she made a conscious decision to mimic that. So that whole thing is just really confusing. But I will
But
say,
you could alter the smell of it though. You could be like, my farts don't smell, and you'd be like, you know what? They don't. They actually don't.
nice, great work. There was really good lighting in one scene. When Picard was
Where's
talking
that?
with Q, and he was saying he's going to kill her, and Picard says, "You would be so despicable," and Q says, "Don't be so naive." I noticed there was really good, like harsh lighting there, and that harsh lighting is usually used in like horror movies or tense situations, and so I thought that the DP did a really good job because there were some good camera angles. There was that swooping camera movement. There was the lighting. Again, that could be the director, but it might have been the DP, the director of photography too. But I actually really liked, and this is an episode that needs something like that because it's a slow
Yeah.
burn episode. It's not like an exciting, action-packed adventure. It's a slow burn. So it gives a director and a camera person and a DP the opportunity to color it up, to add some things, to make some shots more interesting, to add something, to add their personal flair. And I thought that they did a great job.
Yeah. I mean, just this episode has small moments that doesn't have anything big. There's nothing grandiose about it. It's really about a person's right to choose to be what they want to be. I think ultimately that's what we kind of deduce it down to. And that's why they kept asking what her choice was. It was all about her choice.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, do you choose this? Do you choose to go with him back to the continuum? Do you choose, even at the end when Q said, all right, she basically had, confessed that living as a human wouldn't, be right for her anymore. And she couldn't, withstand not using her powers, especially to do good. And she kind of resolved that she would go back with Q. And
Hmm.
Q at the end says, "All right, then let's go. We'll go back right now." And she's like, "Wait, first, I'm going to go see my parents."
Yeah, obviously.
You
Like,
know, she was like, "No, you're not going to rush me to do whatever you need to do." Again, back to this choice element where you see it's not like where she doesn't have a choice. She is choosing to be with the Q. She's choosing to also go on her terms and see her parents first and take her time with the process of integrating back with the Q or meeting them. So I think that this episode primarily focused around a person, a being, an entity, a right to choose for
right,
themselves, what it is that they feel is best for themselves. Crusher was arguing for that. Troy was advocating for that at some point, and obviously Picard was obviously advocating for that the whole time as well.
right.
So that's the when you boil it all down. I agree with that principle. She came to her own conclusion about what she was best for her life going forward, and that's basically what they were protecting: the right to choose.
Hmm. And the other thing that they kind of ended on was, at least what they leave us with, is if we had the choice to, become omnipotent, omniscient, um, and give up the life, would we do it? Because I already kind of jumped on it right away and said, yes, I would. But then at the same time, in all seriousness, if you think, hey, I'll make my favorite team win the championship every single year, I'll just bet you'd stop watching. It wouldn't be interesting anymore. If you know you're going to win, it suddenly loses all value and all meaning. It's like if somebody tells you the ending of a movie, before you watch it, okay, well, um, and so there is something to that. I'm sure, that's the point of them saying, well, would you really? Because obviously everybody says, yeah, I would. But then when you think about it, I feel like most people wouldn't. Or if they did, they would go back to the human life because suddenly there are no stakes. There's nothing interesting. There's nothing to work towards, at
Well,
least you don't
this
get
this
old.
goes back to like a fundamental principle of our democracy and democracy, Western democracy in general, and that is the freedom of liberty. Right? You have this life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, which is
Right.
protected in these documents, and but ultimately, liberty being the thing that allows you to choose,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the one caveat to liberty is that it can't infringe on somebody else's liberty. So me choosing whatever it is for myself can't affect you choosing whatever it is for yourself.
Right.
And what ends up happening with this power that you're describing, which is the big temptation and the responsibility of it, if I wanted my favorite sports team to win, or if I wanted it to be sunny every day and never rain, I'm depriving other people of their choices, their freedoms as well, because now I'm changing the outcomes of games, and so it
Yep.
doesn't. It's not based on their skill or their luck or the circumstances. It's based on me. So I've taken away their freedom of choice, their freedom of liberty, and it just keeps trickling down that way. And now you're going to be micromanaging everything because now that you want it to be sunny every day, well, the crops don't grow because they need rain. And oh, now I have to fix that. So let me fix the rain part. Yeah, but then the bugs needed they ate the crops. And there's
Right.
this
Yep.
like
There's a whole cycle to it all.
it's a whole cycle to it. And so once you step on that liberty, once you infringe and you start to insert yourself into the natural order of events, you actually begin a sequence of chaos,
Right.
as well.
It's kind of like your freedom to swing a shovel around ends at my face, right? Swing the shovel as much as you want. The second it hits my face, now you're infringing upon my rights, and
Right.
that's where the problem lies. We're just about out of time, so I got the home run baseball back. It was over there somewhere. Here it is, the home run of the episode. Sirach Lofton, who gets the home run of today's episode?
I will have to go and say that the home run actually probably best belongs to John Delancey. He does irritate me. He does get under my skin. But he also provides those spices that keeps a very otherwise flatline episode interesting. He propels. He's done a lot of these, storyline moving into plot forward. His interactions with Picard, his interactions with Amanda, and he did a lot of things that I thought were very great. The hand movement. He's like, "Why don't you just come with me?" And just like very like predatory almost. And then you can see him changing and altering. Like for example, when he went through the door originally, and then he said, "Well, let me just ring the bell." Little things like that. Performance wise, I thought he really layers his performance with so much spice that it's interesting to watch, and it makes a rather dull story more exciting to watch. It's just better. So I'm going to give it to John Delancey.
Yeah, he really does add something every time. I'm going to go with Olivia Dabo, the guest star.
And I love Dabo girls.
Yeah, Olivia Dabo.
Dabo.
She kind of came in as, I wouldn't say like a shrinking violet, but she didn't assert herself at first. She sat there. She was sweet. She was prim. She was proper. She didn't add too much, and then she kind of grew. She kind of had a character arc to the point where she started to have strength and certainty and confidence, and it just grew, and the performance showed that. And so I thought she did a great job. So she gets the home run of today's episode. Other home run hitters, special thanks to Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackman, Tom T.J. Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Titus Muller, Dr. Mohammed Noor, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Jake Barrett, Henry Unger, Allison Leach Hyde, Julie Manosfi, Jed Thompson, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Glenn Iverson, Dave Gregory, Chris Sternett, Greg K. Wickstrom, Cassandra Gerard, sorry, that's Cassandra G., Chuck A., Chris Garris, and of course, Jason M. Oken. Like Thorn Oakenshield. All right, everybody, stick around. We've got the free-for-all coming up next. We'll be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton. This is the free-for-all with Melissa Longo and one of her creations she's wearing.
Oh, yes.
Which you can get at Walking Art made by Melissa. Also, Jason M. Oken is here, if you can believe that.
Hi, everybody.
Cassandra G is cool in red.
Melissa.
Oh, there it is. It's another Melissa creation. Subtle.
Yay.
Lady in red. Susan V. Gruner has returned. The Return of the Jedi. There she is.
Yay.
Faith Howell is on the
prune
bridge
juice.
of the Enterprise D. Oh, yeah, she does. Thank you. Faith is here. Chris Garris, what's up? Chris is hanging out.
Hello.
He's floating out there in space. Oh, that was a cool scene. We didn't even talk about that. Carrie Schwent is here. What fools these mortals be. Chuck A has a Seventh Rule shirt. And
Hello.
of course, Chris McGee has got is that a Walking Art too?
Well, kind of. It's
like a cousin.
Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cousin.
Nice.
Sort of.
Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
I think this was probably 7.3. Somewhere around there.
Anybody else have any guesses?
6.8.
I'm going to say 7.8.
7.0.
7.4.
Hmm. I predicted, I was like, I bet you Sirach is going to get it spot on today. And I was wrong, but I was close. But Chuck A was spot on, 7.4. That's the Mark Eaton number everybody knows. 7.4. I got one non-appearance mention. That was Jack Crusher. Were there any others?
Nurse Ogawa.
Oh, right. I wrote that in. That's right. Because she didn't show
and
up.
Wesley.
Crusher.
Yeah,
Wesley.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
3 out
man.
of 3.
How do we miss that? You're right. Nurse Ogawa. Some kinds of or some sorts of?
We got one. Q saying, but if she were some kind of hybrid, neither human nor Q.
Mm. ...
Thanks very much, Chris McGee. All right. Melissa Longo, will you please get us started off on the right track by telling us what you thought of this particular episode?
Well, they had me at puppies. They're so freaking cute. As puppies aside, I enjoyed this episode actually. And before I looked at the IMDb score, I was gonna guess a 7.7. So a little bit higher than the IMDb rating, but yeah. Few things I liked about it. It is that it asks typical Star Trek-esque questions that are difficult to answer. I liked the questions Amanda asked Beverly about if she could do anything that she wanted, what would she do? And I like that it was difficult for Beverly to answer that question. And I also liked the question of, would you bring your husband back?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a difficult question for her as well, because it seems like it would be an easy answer, but there's a lot that goes into that question and that answer. So it's a difficult one to answer. What else did I like? I thought the woman who played Amanda was very good. She was very believable in learning that she has these abilities. It's like she hits puberty or she hits a certain age, and her Q powers come to life, and learning how to control that is, I believed it. And I liked her little hand waves when she was doing something magical, because it felt like something that was a part of her, whether unconsciously or not. Overall, I enjoyed this episode. Is it a perfect episode? Which episodes are? But yeah, and I enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Melissa Longo. Everybody in the comments below, let us know which episodes are perfect episodes. I bet we have some answers for those. Some people do. Thanks very much, Melissa. Jason M. Oken could answer that question too. But instead, what do you think of this episode?
Well, interesting enough, I think I used to enjoy it a lot more when I was younger, and it's not one of those that aged all that well for me. I think anything that John Delancey is in is just fantastic, because he does so much with what he's given. I mean, if you read the script, it sometimes, frankly, reads very flat, and he brings it to life. I mean, there's something about his performance SQ that elevates the material. And this time around, I did watch Olivia Diablo's performance, and I think it's a very nuanced, wonderful performance. I think the problem I'm having with this episode is the tone. The tone is very uneven. It goes from something very, very serious, as Melissa just said, would you bring your husband back, which is, a very serious topic, to some, frankly, the dog gag, when Crusher gets turned into a dog. I mean, as a teenager, it may have been funny. I don't think it's all that funny. I think it's, what I found funnier, frankly, was, the choices that John Delancey made. spontaneous combustion of somebody you don't like, and he gives, Picard that look. And that is probably his choice. It's certainly not in the script. It's something that he decided to do. So I think there's certainly entertainment here. I think for me, it's kind of uneven and somewhat, I don't want to call it an immature-ish. It's just slightly underbaked, I think. If a little bit more sort of work was put into this to even out the tone a little bit with, obviously some humor, it would have been better. I'm not sure. I think the direction is somewhat flat too. It seemed a little staticky to me. I mean, there were a few spots where, you get these push-ins, but they're kind of cliche push-ins when certain emotions happen. I mean, at one point, Amanda's character sort of bearing her soul, and the camera sort of stays focused on, on Gates in the background. I mean, Gates had a lot to do here, which is wonderful, but the focus should have been on the Amanda character, not on Crusher when this was happening. So again, they lost a little bit in terms of cutting of the episode. There were a couple of scenes that were cut. Frankly, they probably was a good thing that we're not on the screen, and we can talk about some of that later. But overall, I think it's enjoyable. Is it? It's frankly, if you look at all the Q episodes, it's near the bottom of the list for me.
There are only like 6 episodes in total, I think, something like that.
There's
like surprisingly few. Yeah.
There's another one coming up this season, which is head and shoulders above this one.
Ooh, boy. I bet there's the word Q in the name, too. Thank you very much, Jason M. Oken. Cassandra G. is here. She doesn't have Q in her name, but what do you think of this episode?
I thought it was fun. Like I said, it's not the best episode, but it is a nice, fun episode. And I think depending on which episodes are before and after, it might be like that nice little break that you need sometimes. So for me personally, I like the fact, I'm going off my notes here. I like the fact that she's understanding her roots and where she really came from. But I do also understand the Q continuum's point where they need to check uncontrolled power. The way that they go about doing it, not so much, but they do have their own rule book. They've been around for centuries or even before that, before time began. And so they need to make sure that whoever has access to this power knows how to use it. And she clearly does not. And especially, she doesn't want to be treated differently. But once again, what Melissa mentioned, she's asking Crusher, what would you do? Would you change the past? Just even asking a question like that, you clearly don't have the proper understanding of what it's like to use that type of power, and being authorized to use it, and then not necessarily, how to abuse it. And there is an episode, and I don't believe it's not in Next Generation, one of the other series, where Q is basically like, once again, asked to be like the Q police and go after a rogue Q who's abusing their power for whatever reason. And I so one of the things as well too is that when she whisks Riker away and takes him on her own like fairy tale, it shows her innocence, and it does show her immaturity. And something like that can definitely lead to a catastrophic event. So once again, I understand where the continuum is coming from. Killing her parents, no, not so much again, right? But you do see why certain powers like that do need to be checked. What I thought was funny was that when Q had mentioned mawkish humans, and so I was like, I want to look this up. Even though I had a feeling what it meant, but so it means excessively sentimental or so sappy that it's sickening. In case anyone was wondering. And for me, at the end, when Q says to Picard, the jury is still out on that one, Picard, make no mistake, which in season 7, we get to see what he meant by all of that. So that was my take on it. I did think it was fun. Tracy Coco is in this. David Keith Anderson is also in this, and he's been an Ensign Armstrong for 23 seasons of TNG, quite a few Trek movies, Voyager for 7 episodes, Enterprise for 4 episodes, and Dexter for 1 season.
Wow, that dude gets around. Thanks very much, Cassandra G. Great stuff as always. Dr. Susan V. Gruner has returned. We love always looking at your background.
Maybe I should leave now. I don't know.
Oh, no. Hit us with it. Get edgy.
Well, first I'll tell you a little information about the Dabo girl, the actress that played her. She dated Julian Lennon, which I thought was pretty cool.
Oh.
I am.
The song Hey Jude was written after him. It was.
Right? Yes, it was. I am not a Q fan at all. And one of the reasons I haven't been doing the shows is because I don't want to be negative about every single episode. But I just, if it's a Q episode, I have a hard time watching them. I just don't get it at all. And I realize that he's a very popular character. But for me, with her little hand movements and everything, all I could think of is that Elizabeth Montgomery of Bewitched is rolling in her grave. I just think that Q does not belong in the Star Trek realm the way it is. But the good things I liked about it were I thought it really, the flowers go to Gates McFadden. I thought her talk with Amanda was their acting was great there. And everything else I would say I think is too negative. Read the Q. They can do anything they want. Why would they pick on an insignificant little starship with humans when they could cure diseases and all those other things? And every time I watch an episode with Q, I think about that. Why is he picking on Benjamin Sisko or Jean-Luc Picard? It makes no sense to me when there's a million other things that you could do. But I like the puppies.
All right. Everybody loves puppies, I hope. Thank you very much, Dr. Susan V. Gruner. Not at all. That's what we're here for. We got to be edgy. It's boring if everybody loves an episode. Thank you very much, Susan V. Gruner. Like Faith Howell here hates it. What do you think, Faith? Do you?
Actually,
See?
I really enjoy this one. I mean, first time I watched it as a little girl, there's this female character who is sort of the center of the story. She is younger, so you can definitely see yourself in her. I didn't get a chance. We're running like crazy people right now, trying to get ready for school. So I did not have a chance to review the episode today. But from what I remember really liking some of the messaging in like when she fiddles with the experiment and jumps ahead. I always remember that and took that to heart as you can't cut corners. You have to do things the right way to make sure that it comes out right. And so that's something that I remember from a very young age. I also really liked the conversation about, could you have this power and not use it? But now thinking about it as an adult, I feel like that also reflects really, really negatively on the Q, because they go out of their way not to help anyone ever. And so they have this power and they're actively not using it to help anyone. So, way to accidentally make the Q look that much more villainous without even trying. But overall, I think it's a really fun episode. I love the puppies. I love them being out on the ship and getting to see the ship from those angles. It definitely, I did feel like had an I Dream of Jeannie kind of vibe to her, but in a positive way. At the time, I know that was in, recent history. And so, probably easily came to mind for a lot of viewers. So all around, I think it's.
Thanks very much, Faith Howell. All right. I love seeing them outside of that ship. It reminded me of First Contact so bad. Thank you very much, Faith. All right, Carrie Schwent, a.k.a. Crafty Bear, What a Fool Believes. Who sings that song? Hall & Oates? That's what I think of when I see that shirt. What do you think of this episode?
I enjoy this episode. You all know how much I adore Q. I think he's fun. I had to bring out my little tiny Q because he's cute. Like his big counterpart Q is very, very cute. But no, the shirt is from A Midsummer Night's Dream, and the quote on it just absolutely seemed like something Q would say. So it seemed very appropriate to wear for this particular free for all. Yeah, aside from the way Q is in the Q and the Gray on Voyager, this was probably my other favorite Q episode, just because I enjoy how he is in the episode, the whole like parental style vibes, like in the conversations with Picard about Amanda and the conversations with Beverly about Amanda. It seemed very much like parents arguing in front of their child sort of vibes, and just very much amused me. I really do enjoy the guest star Olivia Dabo. I haven't watched it in years, but I remember loving her character on The Wonder Years. She was Fred Savage's older sister, like the hippie chick. I loved her outfits. Every single episode she was in, her fashion was always fantastic. But what I love her more in is an even earlier role. And she was in the second of the two Arnold Schwarzenegger Conan movies. She was in Conan the Destroyer in 1984. She was about 15. My husband and I just watched it last night for the first time in ages, and it's a delightful movie. If you want to see young Arnold all buff and being slightly cheesy, and Wilt Chamberlain with really really long hair,
Right.
like they had to go to Spain to find a horse big enough for him to sit on where his feet weren't scraping the ground. The poor guy, but she is fantastic in that episode. And the background behind me, she's also a fantastic singer. The album art behind me is from Bon Jovi's fun take on a greatest hits album called "This Left Feels Right." They take a bunch of their hits and they slow them down, kind of jazzy, sort of coffee house vibes to them. And Olivia Dabo does guest vocals on "Living on a Prayer" as a duet with John Bon Jovi. Her voice is beautiful. I highly recommend looking it up. Yeah, like everybody else, I love how Beverly was just in such mom mode with Amanda. The two of them bonded very easily. I was okay for probably the first time how little Troy was in the episode, just because of how well Amanda was bonding with Beverly, and how Beverly was absolutely going to bat for Amanda with Q at every opportunity. And I can't help it, but I did laugh when Q turns Beverly into an Irish setter, and I didn't notice until the second time watching it this morning that Amanda is the one that changes her back. It's one of those kind of blink and you miss it things. I enjoy her arm movements. I like the more subtle, just the hand motions, as opposed to the double arm thing that she does. That just makes my arms and my shoulders tired. I really prefer the simple hand motions. I do have a couple thoughts about Riker and the brief Jane Austen scene, but I'll save that for things left unsaid. It's not what you think. But of course, for the episode, or for the limerick of the episode, I was actually inspired by a comment from the Mission Log podcast boys. Something they said sparked the idea for it, and I will finish with that. I know now why my wishes came true. I have just been told that I am a Q. Now that I have all the facts, it's clear I cannot go back. It would be hard to leave all that I knew.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Carrie Schwent, a.k.a. Crafty Bear. All right, Chuck A. He's our other a.k.a. TNG fanatic. What'd you think of this one?
Well, I hadn't seen it in a few years, and I was really happy with the way the episode went. I thought John Delancey's performance was excellent. Olivia D'Abo was really, really good in this role. She was trying not to use her powers, and of course, Q gave her some tests that she had to. And her scenes with Beverly were just fantastic. Gates McFadden acting was really good. I thought it was really the way the episode progressed. I was surprised in a way that, she decided she wanted to stay, but then of course she went ahead and left when they had the incident on the planet. I thought that John Delancey's humor was spot on. He really has that character down pat, and we get no spoiler, but we get to see him a second time in this season. He really did a great job, and I thought the scene with Riker and on the what do you call that? What I don't know where they're. In that scene where she takes him to that. There's a term they use for that scene, but I thought she made him wanted him to like her, and then of course she wound up leaving the scene. I wish I could remember that term, but there was like that little house that he came out of. But I thought the episode itself was really good. Like I said, I hadn't seen it in a few years, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Gazebo, thank you. Couldn't think of it was bothering me. But I really liked the episode. It was a great episode for Q and Dr. Crusher and Olivia Diabo's character. She was wonderful in it.
She was, and she still has an incredible career going on. Unbelievable. Thank you very much, Chuck A, aka TNG fanatic. Chris Garris in the heart of Southeast Texas. What did you think of this episode?
So it's been a little bit since I've seen this one. I mean, I've seen it several times, and kind of like I think Jason said, your opinion of it does change. For me, it has changed some. I mean, not too terribly bad, because I mean, it has its good, it's definitely got some comedy in it. It's funny with the way Q is, always messing with Picard. But one of the scenes that really kind of stuck out to me was when the two of them are in his ready room, and, he's basically telling Picard, like, if she doesn't do what the Continuum, want me to do, we're going to kill her. And I'm just like, that just seems so wrong for them to, and I know we've talked about other people said, and he says as well, you've got to keep that type of power in check. But I mean, just take the power away, because we know they can do that. They have done that before. To him, Q himself has had his power taken away. So, why do they have to have, it's extreme. You either do it or you don't, and then why they have to kill her parents again, because once again, they went against the Continuum. So, I'm definitely not negative against the episode. I still enjoyed it. I mean, this scene right here that I've got behind me is such a freaking cool scene. I mean, that would be awesome to be able to stand on the outside of the ship like that. That'd just be so cool. And then, again, Gates, and she had a lot of good scenes in this episode. And yes, like when she did kind of scold her for, skipping ahead because she tried to use her powers to just, get through the experiment so they can move on. And, and she had a valid point. You basically made the experiment null and void because we needed to see what happened. So she was that mother figure to her. But just, me don't get me wrong, I like the Q, but sometimes when they're getting to the whole, it's either this or we're going to kill you, that's just not very, I don't care for that anymore. Which is so crazy, because I never even thought about that back when I saw this in 1992, I think, when it came out. Of course, I also remember when I first saw her, I was like, that's the sister from Wonder Years when I saw this episode back then, because that was such a great series, the Wonder Years. But overall, it's still a good episode. I enjoyed it. It's not an automatic skip by any means. It's just, sometimes I think Melissa made a comment or something that, the Q can be hypocrites, and they really are, because I mean, they locked, another series, but they locked the Q up in an asteroid just because he didn't want to do what the Continuum wanted him to do. So again, if you can take the power away, take the dang powers away, and then let them live their human life. But I guess they just think that is so beneath a Q to live as a human that they just rather get rid of you. So that's my 2 cents on this episode.
That sounded like at least 30 cents. That was great stuff. Thank you very much, Chris. That was really good. Thank you so much. All right, Dark Lord, Chris McGee is here. What do you think of this one, Chris?
Like with all of the reviews we do, I appreciate hearing everyone's view of the episode here and opening my eyes to the aspects of it that I otherwise wouldn't have recognized. And now that I see them, I find myself agreeing with most of them too. Whenever John Delancey and his razor sharp wit show up, that instantly raises my estimation of the episode considerably. I think this is a good episode, even though it isn't my favorite among the Q-centric ones. The back and forth between Picard and Q is delightful and even better than before. And I like that the story itself gives us further glimpses into the Q mythos. I think Olivia Dabu did a fantastic job as Amanda. She's about 23 when this episode was filmed, and I just recently discovered, as Carrie mentioned, that she starred as Princess Jenna in Conan the Destroyer when she was only 15. I appreciate that Q's tests to ensure that Amanda is a Q shows that despite how much most of us enjoy his appearances and the comedy he often brings, he's still a ruthless being that ultimately doesn't care what happens to humans. The single tear that Amanda sheds after she saves the planet at the end is a nice touch, portraying that she now knows that she would never be able to resist using her powers, even if it's to help others. That's about all I can really say about this for now. I'll save my nitpick for things left unsaid and go to my memorable quote, which is Picard saying the wonderful line, "We must at least appear to be civil."
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. Wow, Chris McGee, only one nitpick for things left unsaid. You're holding back. All right, Jake's final take. Srock, any final thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think Melissa made a better title for this episode. It would have been better if it was called Cuberty, because this is what she was basically hitting for her own life. I like that one, so I'm gonna credit that for Melissa.
Although you did coin a good one, you said cumin, which would be a good episode, Cumanity, right?
Right, yeah, but yeah, I did like she was kind of hitting her puberty in this moment, and it was pretty good. The line that I liked, John Delancey, when he said, "How do you stand all that hair on his face?" I kind of laughed when I heard him say that. Especially interesting that when you see Delancey now, he has a lot of hair on his face. It's the irony there. Uh, I'm with the rest of. I'm with my dad on this. We don't like Qs, so chalk it up to the Cisco's. Don't like Qs. I'm not a big Q fan. I don't like his episodes that much. And not to say that John Delancey is not fantastic at playing the Q role. I just don't like the character itself. I think it's too arrogant, too much bravado, too brash, too superior complex for me to ever think that this is a supreme entity. Like, I don't know why a supreme entity would give off those really kind of abrasive vibes, and it just doesn't seem to me a sign of supremacy. And so that's why I'm not really the biggest the mystery of me sitting down and watching an episode. I'd like to know. I want to unwrap a present, not knowing what's inside, and they're always telling me what's inside when I read the title. So I just don't understand the logic in that. Another line that I really enjoyed Delancey's delivery is when he said, "Well, if it isn't number two," and I think we've all said that one time or another, right, Ryan?
Because Riker's the shit.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, and then lastly, I will. Oh, I wasn't really comfortable with the way Q was like it felt like
Too
it was like
close.
he was too close to her. Like he
Yes.
grabbed her by the arm when he first
I
saw
know.
her, and literally grabbed her by the arm and like turned her like, "Let me get a look at you." And I'm like, that's like an aggressive police officer move, and it's like too hands-on for me. And then there was another moment when she was working with the test dishes or whatever, and he was behind her, and he kind of spread out right behind her, not giving her any space, and it's just like it's creepy to me. And I don't understand why he has to be sexually creepy in a moment where he doesn't even view that as part of, he looks down on the vulgarity of human creation. So why would he then be oozing off this kind of creepy sexual vibe that I just thought was uncomfortable for me? He was too hands on, too touchy feely for me. He could have, you know, made his argument with his mouth, his debate, with his arguments. I just didn't. I just felt like he was like all over her, and I was like, give her some freaking space, like it wasn't good for me. And then lastly, I'm going to say, um, oh, not lastly, I loved Riker's straddling that chair at 10 forward. That was a good move. What a great maneuver! This is one of his better maneuvers. He came right up over it. And then my last point is, I agree with Picard. I'll take the human morality over a Q any day. I feel like Picard has won almost every debate he's had with Q as far as an intellectual debate about morality. It seems like Picard has a better handle on it than Q, and he's argued it and won the argument, in my opinion, several times over now. So I will agree with him. And then, what I was thinking about when he kept saying you need to come back to the continuum, we need to come back to the continuum. I was thinking about the founders asking Odo to come back to the to the pool, the founder's lake or whatever it is, like to come get reacclimated with your ancestral beings and get the approval of the group. And when you think about these alien races that they have created, there's only a few that have this collectiveness of an identity like that. The Borg, the founders, and the continuum, I feel, are all variations of a collective groupthink type of mentality. And I'm not necessarily sure I like that as well. I do like the liberties and freedoms of individuals making their choices, and so that's my final take on this episode.
Great stuff. Real quick, Star Trek has humanized all three of those horrible races in subsequent episodes and series. The Founders, the Borg and Picard, and Q, also in Picard and others. Anyway, that's it for us. Thank you to Chris McGee, Chris Garris, Chuck A., Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Susan V. Gruner in stormy Florida. Same with Cassandra G., Jason M. Oak, and Melissa Longo. For myself, Sirach, Melissa, and Mr. Aaron Eisenberg. Thank you all very much for hanging out with us. We will see you next time. Stick around for the things left unsaid if you're a patron. If not, become one. We'll see you next time on The Seventh Rule.